Hey guys, this is Kamaguno, and today I'm doing Kamaguno episode 277, also known as Kamaguno's Best Comics of the Week. And today I had a really great haul, so I'm excited to talk about a ton of comics. And this week I had 16 books. Number 16, and I have to say, really the only book I disliked this week was Detective Comics issue 998. We were getting closer to that issue 1000, but all feels like a stall. I do hope issue 1000 has a great story, but I'm kind of getting tired of, alright, this person's chasing Batman and the people that formed Batman. And every issue kind of feels like the same thing. So obviously they are stalling because we need to get to issue 1000, but just haven't been really feeling this story as much, especially because the characters they've been tackling haven't been the big honchos of Batman's life. They're more of like the B-list characters of Batman's life, other than Leslie and Alfred, which was the best issue for me. So I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars. Artwork is good. Overall, I do like the art style, and I do think this is an improvement from what we were getting with Detective Comics, but I'm ready for issue 1000 to be here. Alright, moving on to number 15. Number 15 for me this week, sadly, is Captain Marvel issue 2. I enjoyed the first issue. I love Kelly Thompson's work, but not really feeling this story arc overall of this kind of post-apocalyptic world that Captain Marvel kind of gets stuck in, and we don't know how, and obviously that's the mystery, but I don't really care about the mystery. I'm just like, oh, why did this happen? So obviously the positives for me is Jessica and Carol hanging out. I like seeing Hazmat again because I enjoyed that character, and we don't get to see the Avengers Academy characters at all usually, so that it's nice to see Hazmat again. And we also get an interesting cliffhanger of Jen turning back into Jen and not Hulk, and she's falling. So what's going to happen to her? Will Captain Marvel be able to save her? Artwork is pretty good for the book as well. Really like that. But like I said, overall plot's not wowing me. I did get the movie cover though, so supposedly there wasn't a lot of these, so I'm happy I got that. But overall, I'm going to give that one 3 stars. Again, didn't really hate any books or dislike any books besides my last pick. Alright, moving on to number 14, which is Bettie Page, issue 2. I love Bettie Page's voice here. That is totally what makes this book. And in the end of this one, it's all about, you know, fighting aliens and figuring out more about these UFOs. But we get to see Bettie teaming up with other Bettie, which is Queen Elizabeth. So I'm like, ah, that's going to be cool. And overall, I like the art style. There are some times where some of the facial expressions look a little awkward. Some of the angling, but overall, really like the art style, and you know, definitely brings you into the time period, which is nice. Yeah, and overall, it's a fun espionage book, and Bettie Page obviously makes this book, and I love her snarkiness with this one. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars, and that is number 14, I believe. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 15. None of these are bad issues by any means, but for me, it's the artwork that really brought this down. I'm not a big fan of this artist, Bachelot art style. He did the Shed stuff for Lizard way back when. He did Wolverine and the X-Men. Just not my style of art, and that kind of brought that down for me, but I like the Ned lead stuff. So we find out the homeless man was Ned, who was a clone, and there might be a little mystery with Bettie, because he says something about Bettie. Let me see if I get to the scene where he says, "You don't understand. She, Bettie. You have to protect her." So something's going on with her, and it'd be so nice to see Bettie back in this book. I miss her. She's a great character that's not utilized enough. So I'm interested to see that. But yeah, I love that part of the story. The Lizard stuff is a little bit of a slow burn. I'm curious, who is Billy trying to meet up with? Is it someone romantically he's going to be involved with? Is it like Kraven the Hunter tricking Billy? We'll have to see. Actually, the Kraven stuff was the least interesting thing for me. I felt like that dialogue felt a little bogged down. I'm like, all right, we'll get to Kraven when we get to Kraven. But I actually did like the meat of it, which is Spider-Man. I love the Aunt May page where he says, you know, I always talk about Uncle Ben, but Aunt May really shaped me who I am as well. And I feel like Aunt May is a character that just does not get enough enough spotlight and enough praise. So I was very happy with that page. So overall, giving this one 3.5 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Superman, issue 8. I still feel like this story is going really slow, but we do get some more answers in this issue. Artwork overall is pretty good. There's some times where I feel like some of the angles that are picked here weren't my favorite. Let me see if I can, especially in the beginning with John. Like, I didn't love how his face looked here. Even the grandfather's face as well, Jor-El. So I like the artwork. That's really a nitpick, because the artwork I do think is the best part of this series. But those are little small nitpicks I saw. But with the story, we just get answers of, all right, this is John. He's 17 now. What's happened? And we're getting some small details of what happened between him and his grandfather. Still not enough where I feel like I gotta run away. It's pretty much like he's an old guy who has this existential opinion about things. I'm gonna run away. So I don't know if the reasoning is there yet, but we do get to see John tackle the evil versions of Superman and the rest of the crew. So that could be interesting. We'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, Crime Syndicate is back. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars. It definitely is a bit of a slow burn, but I think it's better than some of the issues we've been getting for this particular series. I personally like Action Comics a bit more. Moving on to number 11, which is Ironheart, issue 3. This was in the middle for me, but I did really enjoy this issue. It's just, we don't find out who the villain is, and obviously that's part of the mystery, but I think that would have been a bigger point to get me to 4 stars. I'm like, all right, maybe things are a little bit too much of a mystery here, but there is some good setup, and I continue to say this is the best Riri Williams series / story I've read, and I've always felt like Riri's had so much potential, and I think finally we have a writer who is really taking the time with her, because obviously Bendis created her, so it's not like, oh, Bendis didn't understand his own creation. I just think Bendis had a lot of titles going on, so he didn't always have the time to properly develop Riri, and I think finally she is being developed between Champions and her own series now very well, and I've been really enjoying Riri's character overall. And even Champions is mentioned here, where she is pushing people away, and I think that's what's so interesting about Riri, is that her instinct is always to be alone, and how that's going to affect her character. So I'm really interested in that. And I do like we're digging deeper into her past and her connections with other people. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars. Artwork's so solid for this book. Especially love the suit scenes as well. Alright, moving on to number 10. Now these are all books I super enjoyed. Like, in another week, it could have been in my top 5. That's like how good these books were. But yeah, the next issue I'm going to talk about is the Magic Order, issue 6, which is the last issue of our season 1 of this book. I know that Millar is working on his book 2 already, so hopefully we get it. But a lot of times with these books he writes, he's like, yeah, I'm going to write a sequel. It's in the works, and it takes like 5 years to get that sequel, and always delayed. I'm still waiting for, like, Empress was a book from Marvel, though, so maybe that's the reasoning that it's taken a little while. Jupiter Legacy, there's so many other books. I'm like, oh, I'm attached to them, and I want to see what happens. And then he, like, writes another book instead. So he has a lot on his plate as well, kind of a Bendis syndrome as well. But yeah, the Magic Order, I really like the ending here. I do think it's very crowded, this book, and that's why it's not as high as the other ones, because the characters I care about are the siblings. Everyone else, I'm like, oh, I don't remember you, because there's just so much going on. But I especially like Cordelia, and we kind of learn that she is our protagonist here, as she has to kill her brother pretty much to save her niece. So that was really interesting, and I like how her disobedience is the reason why they won, and in the way she uses her magic, that she's able to escape things. So I thought that was cool, and I thought it was a good battle. Especially love the artwork. I think it made me feel like I was watching like a Harry Potter movie, but through reading a comic, and that's exactly what you want to feel with this type of book. So overall, I'm going to give this one 4 stars. That was a really solid ending, and hopefully we get to see book 2 sooner than later, and that Netflix show. Hopefully we get to see some of these Netflix shows. sooner than later. I'm sure we will see it, but sooner than later. All right, moving on to number 9. I personally have been really liking this event, and that is Age of X-Men, X-Man, Nextgen, issue 1. Every issue has surprised me. I've been really enjoying this book, and Nextgen I really enjoyed as well, where we get to see kind of the B-list X-Men, I was even say C, D-list X-Men, and them being students. You got like the Blob guy, whatever his name, not actual Blob, the eye guy, don't even remember his name, but you know, the guy, the gooey guy, who they kind of call Glob, not Blob, Glob. So he's actually kind of a main character here. Armor. You know, Armor does not get enough love, and she's in this issue. Pixie is another character when you don't know what character to pick. Usually she's like the random one you throw in. So it's nice that Pixie's getting some love and actually some lines. Usually she's just that character in the background. It's like, oh, look, Pixie. So it's nice to see her. But yeah, they're just regular students trying to figure out their place in the X-Men in this world. And once again, the X-Men are keeping secrets, and we get to see Armor and Glob especially figure this out. But I was curious, because I know in the Marvelous X-Men, no one was allowed to love each other, but Pixie does make a note that, you know, Armor was attracted to Psylocke. So I'm wondering if that's going to go anywhere, or if that was like a continuity thing. I don't know. Hopefully we find out as the series goes on. But yeah, in the end we get to see Glob attacking Armor, saying, I'm going to show you everything. So we'll see what goes there, but what goes on there. But I love the artwork. I thought it was really sleek here, and just a really fun book. And like I said, I've just been really enjoying these series so far, and yeah, so 3 out of 3. Really enjoyed all 3 of them. And I'm going to be getting all the miniseries, so I believe next week is going to be Nightcrawler, so I'm going to get that one as well, which originally was the only one I wasn't going to get, but even that one-shot set up a really cool Nightcrawler story where he's like Beast Boy and he's like famous, so I'm like, I'll definitely go get that one. But yeah, giving that 4 stars. Moving on to number 8. Which is Go-Go Power Rangers issue 17. This is a really solid issue. We learn some good information here in the beginning where I'm like, whoa, that was a pretty big drop, which is Rita's born. And I love it's over 10,000 years ago she is born. And it seems like more of a perfect life, that she's going to be this awesome child. And she is the child of Zordon. So I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Where is that gonna go? So I was especially impressed with the Rita stuff. I will say the other things are very much scattered and sprinkled in, but some really good character moments, like Kimberly talking to her dad, and her dad, you know, kind of playing up. It's like, oh, well, don't tell your mother, blah, blah. And Kimberly's like, oh, no, divorced parents. So she runs away from that. What I love is Trini and Jason, you know, having that spark of their relationship. Zach dealing with his grades and figuring out how to deal with the stress of being a Power Ranger and balancing being, you know, being a student. Billy, we don't get as much of, except like, oh, you know, obviously the secret that, you know, someone knows their identity and we don't know who. It's probably Matt, who's going to be the next Green Ranger. That's my guess, but we'll have to see. But yeah, so we also have that as well. So there is definitely a lot of scattered plot points here that are tried to be fit here. But overall, I like a lot of the character moments, and for me, the character who really shined here was Rita. And I would probably say my second favorite being Trini and Jason. And the artwork is so solid for this book. I love the action. I love anytime they morph. It's just so good. So I've been really liking the artwork as well. So overall, I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 8, I believe. All right, moving on to number 7, which is Blackbird, issue 5. I've been really enjoying this series. It's been a total surprise for me, because I'm not usually a Magic fan, but I mean, Jen Bartel is in the interiors here, so you can't go wrong with that. I just love the fashion she does, the crispness of her artwork, the way she portrays magic. It's just so inventive and good, and yeah, and the motions in this book as well. So I just love the interior artwork, but also the story. We get to learn a lot here, where our main character's sister has been in on it this whole time. The one person's like, yeah, magic's not real. she's a bad person, and now we have to see if our main character will choose to be on another side of these paragons. And then we also learn in the end that our main character is dead, maybe? What? Like, what's going on? So there's a lot of information here that is like, okay, wow, this is just getting really interesting. I will say this was a little lower because of that cliffhanger, though, because I'm like, oh, what? Like, I got a little confused. It was more of like a confused cliffhanger than like, oh my god, I can't wait what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. I think, but the sister stuff was really interesting, and I love their confrontation and this family dynamic that's being built. So, and I also think the cat has to be her dad. That's my guess. We don't know who the cat is, but I think the dad has to be involved somehow. So I'm going to give this one solid 4 stars. Like I said, been pleasantly surprised and definitely one of my favorite Image books out there right now. So if you want an Image book, definitely go check that one out, especially if you like magic. Alright, moving on to number 6, which is Strangers in Paradise XXV, issue 10. Now, if you are a Terry Moore fan, have read all his books, this is a great issue where we get to see all the characters really shine. We get to see Rachel dealing with Lilith, and also the big kind of elephant in the room that they all might die in 5 years because of the thing that happened in Alaska, which had to do with the Echo series. So all that's kind of building up, and Kachu learns about this, and she's like, all right, if I have 5 years to live, bye, I'm going to hang out with my family and spend time with them. So now it's the Tabby and Rachel trying to figure out how do we meet up with, I forget her name, I think it's Jennifer from Echo. I don't remember the main character's name from Echo, but let's see, for the girl from there. Also, we get to see Sam from Motor Girl, and she's going to be the bodyguard of Kachu's kids, so that was really cool in this issue. But the reason this didn't make my top 5 is because this is the last issue. You're like, where the hell is this going? Like, there's no announcement of another, like, more verse series coming out. And I'm sure there will be, because they leave you on so many cliffhangers, but you don't know when you're gonna get it and how, you know, our Strangers in Paradise characters are gonna be involved. So I kind of wish we had an announcement, and this issue would have been a little easier with that ending, because it's very open-ended. But overall, as always, enjoy Strangers in Paradise. The artwork is so good and unique, and, you know, I just miss the hand-drawn stuff, and you really get to see the labor of love with this book, and that's something I love about Terry Moore's work. So overall, giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to a really tough top 5. I loved a lot of these books, so get ready for this. Now, number 5 for me is The Flash issue 64. I thought it was a much improved issue based on that Batman issue, which for me was very set-up-y until you're like, oh, Gotham Girl. And I actually will say, when I was reading the beginning of this, I'm like, oh, Gotham Girl, you're like the same character you were. Why? I thought you grew. And then the rest of the issues explain it's all Batman's fault. You know, she wanted help. She kept asking for it. She kept wanting to be a hero, and how that's related to Barry's relationship with Wally. And I really like that Batman knows he screwed up. He still doesn't want to admit it totally, but this is all happening because of him, and I do like that. I don't know how to feel that Claire is the vehicle of that, and I hope she could be redeemed, but I do like the direction the story's going, and I like that there was a lot of explanation for why Claire was doing the stuff she was doing, and I've always really liked Gotham Girl as a character. I think she's one of the best things that span out of King's Run, so overall, giving this one a solid 4 stars. Artwork is so good, so solid for this one. So, like I said, giving this 4 stars. I thought it was a much improved issue compared to the Batman issue. Alright, moving on to number 4. Damn, I had fun with this book and was really surprised by it. I've been surprised with all the Wonder Comics stuff. But yeah, Wonder Twins issue 1. I've never really read Wonder Twins in my life. Obviously, I know all the jokes that come along with them, but never read it. And this was such a good comedy book. Even Wonder Woman has a joke in here about how sucky these Wonder Twins are. But what I really liked about it is this kind of hyperized story about teens and how awkward it is to be a teen. And that's really what the story's about. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. If you're just looking for a good comedy superhero book, read this one. Even the cartoony nature of the artwork really fit here. So yeah, give Wonder Twins a try. I was really pleasantly surprised with this. And if you want more info about what I thought, I did an in-depth review for that as well. All right, and that's a 4.5-star book. Now moving on to the tough top 3. All my favorites came out this week. A lot of my favorite books came out. We had Go Go Power Rangers. I won't name the others because I don't want to spoil, but the top 3 are 3 of my favorite books coming out now. And also I want to add Strangers in Paradise is definitely a book I really enjoyed as well. But yes, top 3 here. Number 3 is Runaways, issue 18. I know you guys might be shocked, but again, this is so hard. I loved all 3 of these issues a lot. But yeah, this is Chris Anka's last issue, which I'm very upset about because I love Chris Anka's work, but I'm glad he's still staying on covers, and this cover is so badass. This was my cover of the week if you didn't know. But yeah, with this issue, we get to see Alex make the decision of trying to kill off Victor, and obviously the team is not very happy about this. And then Gert makes the gut decision of putting her time machine to send the Gaborium into the future, 1,000 years into the future, or 999 years into the future. And obviously, Gert makes her decision that she's going to stay there because she doesn't have a time machine anymore. So everyone's upset with Alex, of course, because he's going to kill Victor. But he makes up some good points here of saying, hey, we were all going to die. So Victor was going to die too. I just wanted, to save us. And I love Rainbow's narration in the end where Alex is like, all he ever wanted was to be accepted. He loves his team. They just hate him. And he's kind of given everything to them. And obviously the biggest thing being each other. Being able to kind of create this group and create this family. So the big ending is that we get to see, well, Doombot might be dead, but probably not. But he gets hurt. So not everything's happy in the end. Even though it seemed happy. Because like, oh, we saved everybody. And I love the little montage of everyone's like, yeah, we did it. And I love having Chris have more of Carolina and Nico for his last issue. So it's nice that he gave kind of a farewell kiss for them. But yeah, going into the ending, the cliffhanger of this issue is Alex leaves, but someone will follow. I think it's obvious who it's gonna be. It's gonna be Molly, because the next issue is Molly with these like demons on the side. And then also, if you look at the ending scene, Molly's not in it, where she's like, oh, Gert's like, oh, Alex is gone, and Molly's not in that scene. So I think it is obvious it's gonna be Molly. And for me, that's the person who makes the most sense. So it's gonna be either Molly or Gert, because Gert's obviously been lost because she's like, oh, I don't belong here. So I would understand Gert. But Molly I would understand because she's the only character who didn't truly make the decision to leave their parents. She always kind of followed as a little sister. Everyone's always protecting her. So, and also she likes Alex. She never really had any bad feelings against him. It was just more like, my siblings hate them, so I'm gonna hate them. So I think this is a journey, especially now Molly's 13, she's becoming a little older, for her to make her own decisions and to figure out her own path. So I actually think this is a journey needed if it ends up being Molly. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed the issue. Thought it was a good last act for Chris Anka and also the story. And I'm excited to see how it moves forward. There's still a lot of drama to be played out here with all the characters, but especially Gert and Molly and Alex, I would say, are the big 3. And I guess Victor as well. So yeah, overall, giving this one 4.5 stars. Really good issue. That is number 3. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 for me is Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, issue 5. I love the artwork. Let me just mention that, because it has such a Miss Marvel feel, because this artist was on Miss Marvel for a little while. So I like the art a lot, and I think this is even better than the first artist on the title. But yeah, what I love about this is Gwen just kind of getting into her life again, and it's so complicated. Everything's complicated. It opens up with MJ singing a love song to Gwen, and Gwen's like, and I love the line, Gwen says, I'm Gwen Stacy, and I'm so vain. I definitely think this song is about me. Obviously quoting You're So Vain, the song. And it is. It's all like, oh, your responsibility. You're swinging around the city. It's like, why don't you love me? And I'm like, and you guys know, I've been guessing this MJ thing for a long time. Since Latour's run, I think it's been laid out that MJ has feelings for for Gwen, which is why she was so persistent to find Gwen and so persistent to find out if Gwen was Spider-Woman / Spider-Gwen. So I love that opening. So that's already complicated, especially if Gwen kind of adds up the pieces of the previous universe that MJ and Gwen were probably together. So she obviously has no idea how to feel about that. And MJ's being a little snarky to her at the same time. So she's like, I really don't know how to feel about it. So then you have the flip side. She's going out, or, you know, I would say seeing. They're not really dating at this point, but it looks like it might be going there with Harry, another friend. So she's like, I don't know how to feel about this either. So how does she feel about Harry? Does she just want to be friends? Does she want to go out with him? What's going on here? So that's another complication. And then all the other emotions that just happen in Spider-Geddon. She lost these people. She had to tell family members that, you know, they lost their spider person. So a lot of complications there. But then you have the overall scope of Gwen's identity being known to the world. Everyone knows she's Spider-Gwen. So she's like, all right, I'm going to put my life on track and go to community college. She's like, I'm going to make my dad proud. She goes there, and people are already like, oh my god, you're Spider-Gwen. And she's like, I can't do this. I was imprisoned on purpose. And I love that line. So, yeah, Gwen's got a lot of issues, and I love that's what this whole issue is about. It's just like, life is complicated. Obviously, as someone, I guess she's like 18, 19, as a young adult, and then also as a superhero, and she's really seeing that. My only nitpick was the ending, where it's like, it felt a little tacked on, where we get to see, but still an interesting ending. John Jameson is actually Man-Wolf, and he's out to get Spider-Woman, because, of course, he's out to get Spider-Woman. But yeah, I really liked this issue. I loved Gwen's complications. I love all the drama, and it was perfect for me in that regard. So, for me, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. Honestly, the only thing that didn't make it a 5-star book was the ending was, again, a little tacked on. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. Given this 4.5 stars. I can't wait to see where Spider-Gwen goes, and I've been really happy with this new creative team. Moving on to number 1. Again, hard pick, but this was good. This was a good issue, and that is Miss Marvel issue 38. This is the last issue for G. Willow Wilson, and she went out in the perfect way. I think it really described everything that I personally love about Miss Marvel, and we get to see Miss Marvel end up going into this portal with her friends. And before, she's kind of upset. She's upset that her life is mundane, and she feels like she's in a rut, and in that she doesn't feel special enough. And then she ends up in this RPG game, which was crazy, and I love the artwork for this book, where it's just, you get 8-bit little moment with the little hearts and the lives, and you get the clothing looks like an RPG game, the lingo, and that's what was so cool, is that this book started out as the, hey, Miss Marvel, Kamala is like you, she's geeky, she loves all this stuff, and then it ends the same way, hey, she loves all this stuff, she knows all about RPG games. So I thought that was really cool. But what made this issue for me is that it wasn't just about Kamala. Every chapter of that game was about the relationships with her friends, and that was the whole message of the issue. Was first you start out with Zoe, where she, you know, she's dealt with keeping secrets and kind of figuring out who she was, and she started out as the Queen Bee. You get to see her as like this evil person, and then Kamala's like, this is not you, and I understand that I've kept secrets, you've kept secrets about your sexuality, you know, take the armor off. And she does. You're like, all right, I'm ready to fight. And she ends up, you know, teaming up with Kamala. I thought that was such a special moment because I love Zoe, and I think she's the character that's grown the most in this book. So it's really cool to kind of see that. And you also get to see that later in the issue as well. And then you get to see some other characters like Gabe, and you think Gabe's going to join the team, and he doesn't. He's just chopping wood. You're like, okay, that's fine. And then you have Mike, which is in this like anime-style world, and the text is going really slow, because if you remember that from old school video games, felt like a Pokemon game. So I thought that was cool. But then you have Nakia, which was a big moment as well, where Nakia is always trying to keep Kamala at arm's length, and Kamala's realizing that. It's like, hey, I want to be your friend, and Nakia's like, I do too. So they've been keeping a lot of secrets from each other, and it was nice to have that. And then also, like, Bruno kind of questioning everything he does. That was a big moment for him. And then lastly, I love it ends here, and this is actually written by the writer who's going to be taking over Miss Marvel, and it's them in their old classroom, I guess like kindergarten classroom or first grade, and you show their personalities. You show Zoe kind of being a little bit of a brat, saying, oh, my flower's better, and picking on Nakia. And then you have Bruno already having some feelings for Kamala. And you get to see that, and I love Kamala's words saying, yeah, that was us, and it's still us. You know, those are still the same people, but we've grown as well. And the last line saying, I've learned one thing these past few years is that there's always another level to beat. But if you hold on what's important, you won't have to beat it alone. But yeah, that was good. I love that it really is about Kamala's friends, because that's what made this book for me, is those connections. And obviously the connections with Jersey City, and I feel like that's what the last issue was about. But here is about her core friendship with Zoe, Bruno, and Nakia, which really have been kind of the core here. And I hope the next series continues that as well, because that's really was the important part. So for me, this was the perfect send-off to one of my favorite series ever, one of my favorite runs. I love Miss Marvel. I love G. Willow Wilson's Miss Marvel, and it's been great. It's been a great ride, 5 years, and now I am ready, though. I think this was a great ending to the chapter. I am ready to see what the next person will do, and seeing this legacy continue. So yeah, Miss Marvel issue 38 gets 5 stars. That is my pick of the week. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go check out my Facebook page and my Twitter. Also go check out my comic books like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer. And also Frontline Live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about our top 5 comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And of course next week I'll have another episode of Comic Uno episode / Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. See you guys. Bye.